In this clip, we will be studying the brain from the inferior view. To begin, we have some few structures as well as cranial nerves. We'll begin first with the structures. So we have the olfactory bulb, responsible for receiving olfactory information, sense of smell. Next up, we have the optic chiasm, forming an X. So optic chiasm followed by the optic tracts, the lower legs of the X. The top legs of the X we will be discussing next as part of the cranial nerves, optic nerve number 2. Inferior to the optic chiasm and optic tract, we have the two small mammillary bodies involved in relaying olfactory information as well as associating memory with the sense of smell. Next, we have the pons. Pons we can also see from the mid-sagittal view, contains respiratory centers, originates from the hindbrain or rhomboencephalon primary vesicle, and from the metencephalon secondary vesicle. Inferior to that, we have the medulla oblongata, really important for autonomic functions, such as setting the respiratory rate, heart rate, blood pressure, swallowing, and vomiting. It originates from the hindbrain or rhomboencephalon primary vesicle and the myelencephalon secondary vesicle. And below that, we have the spinal cord. This, of course, is the pituitary gland, an important neuroendocrine gland that releases hormones. Next up, we'll be discussing the cranial nerves. So on the inferior side of the brain, we have 12 pairs of cranial nerves that are involved in sensory and motor functions of the head, face, and shoulders, or neck. They are denoted with Roman numerals, so each has a name, Roman numeral, as well as a function. To begin, we have cranial nerve number 1, known as the olfactory nerve, involved in relaying olfactory information for the sense of smell. Below that, we have cranial nerve number 2, known as the optic nerve, for relaying vision. Next, we have cranial nerve number 3, known as oculomotor, involved in the movement of the eyes. Cranial nerve number 4, called trochlear nerve, also involved in eye movement. The larger cranial nerve number 5, trigeminal nerve, involved in chewing and facial sensations. And cranial nerve number 6, at the base of the pons, called the abducens, involved in eye movement. Cranial nerve number 7, facial nerve, involved in facial expression as well as taste. Above it is cranial nerve number 8, the vestibulocochlear, involved in hearing and equilibrium. Cranial nerve number 9, at the level of the medulla oblongata, known as the glossopharyngeal, involved in speech, swallowing, as well as taste. Cranial nerve number 10, the vagus nerve, also involved in taste, as well as some thoracic and abdominal visceral sensations. The most inferior cranial nerve is called accessory nerve, cranial nerve number 11, and it is involved in head and shoulder movement. And finally, cranial nerve number 12, hypoglossal, involved in